Barack Obama, the former president of the United States, has been manipulating judges, trying to undermine our president, Donald Trump. We have the proof, and we're going after him, Karoline Leavitt said, adjusting the sealed documents on the table. The room buzzed with murmurs from the press corps, and within minutes, the clip was being replayed across news channels, sparking heated discussions in homes and offices nationwide. That same evening, Leavitt appeared on a live TV show, a primetime conservative news program, where she laid out the evidence in detail. "These documents show a pattern," she said, her voice steady as she pointed to a chart projected on the screen behind her. "Judicial orders from the past decade, especially during Trump's first term, reveal a clear bias. Judges were ruling against Trump's policies, immigration bans, deregulation efforts, you name it, not because of legal merit, but because they were compromised. We have emails, financial records, and recorded statements from judges gathered during an investigation, proving that Democratic operatives, under Obama's direction, paid these judges to act as front-runners for their agenda. And even now, we're seeing judges refuse Trump's executive orders in 2025, like his recent border security measures, because they're still in the Democrats' pocket." Leavitt continued, her tone unwavering. "During our investigation, we obtained statements from judges who admitted to being approached by Democratic operatives. One judge said, 'I was offered $300,000 to rule against Trump's travel ban in 2017. They told me it was about stopping a dangerous man, but I knew it was about control.' Another judge confessed, 'I was paid to block Trump's deregulation policies in 2018. The Democrats wanted to tie him up in legal battles.' These are their words, recorded during our investigation. The Democrats have been using these corrupt judges to obstruct Trump at every turn, from his first term to now, just to protect their own power." George Conway, the outspoken lawyer and Trump critic, was watching the show live from his office. His jaw clenched as Leavitt's words echoed through the room. That night, he was invited to a major news network for a scheduled interview to respond. The host introduced him as a fierce defender of democratic principles, and Conway didn't hold back. "This is an outrageous lie," he bellowed, his voice shaking with indignation. "Karoline Leavitt and the Trump administration are fabricating this nonsense to smear Obama and the Democrats. I'll see her in court for defamation." His face was flushed, his eyes blazing as he leaned forward. "These so-called documents and statements are a sham. This is a political hit job, plain and simple. Leavitt should be ashamed of herself, and I'm calling for a full investigation into her sources. She's crossed a line." Karoline Leavitt, however, remained unshaken. The next day, she held another press conference in the White House briefing room, doubling down on her claims. "The evidence is clear," she said, her tone firm as she flipped through the documents on the podium. "We have financial records showing payments to judges, emails from Democratic operatives outlining their strategy, and recorded statements from judges themselves." One judge admitted, "I was told to block Trump's executive orders at all costs, even if the law was on his side." Another said, "The Democrats paid me to rule against Trump's tax reforms in 2019. They wanted to make governance impossible." These are their own words captured during our investigation. And it's happening again. Just last week, a federal judge in California blocked Trump's executive order on border security, citing flimsy reasons. Why? Because the Democrats are using these corrupt judges to obstruct Trump at every turn. The public response was immediate and polarized. Newsrooms across the country ran segments on the allegations, with pundits and analysts debating the claims on air. Some praised Leavitt for her boldness, with one conservative commentator saying, "Finally, someone's exposing how the Democrats have weaponized the judiciary." Another called her a hero for defending Trump's agenda. Others sided with Conway, calling the allegations baseless. "This is just Trump's team trying to excuse their own failures," a liberal analyst argued on a morning show. "Conway's right, Leavitt's lying." A political talk radio host added, "This is a wild conspiracy theory. The judiciary isn't a Democratic puppet." Leavitt, undeterred, held another press conference the following day. "We expected pushback," she said, her tone resolute. "But the truth is in these documents and recordings. The Democrats have been corrupting our courts for years, and they're still doing it today." She paused for effect, letting her words linger in the air. This isn't about me or George Conway or even President Trump. This is about ensuring that our judicial system serves justice, not a political party. The next day, a new piece of evidence emerged that shifted the momentum even further. A recorded conversation surfaced, allegedly obtained by the same journalists who had been working with Leavitt's team. In the recording, a voice identified as a Democratic operative could be heard saying, "Obama wants these judges locked in. We need them to block Trump's orders, every single one. If we can't stop him legally, we'll make sure he can't govern." The audio was grainy, but the context was damning. It appeared to confirm the strategy of manipulating the judiciary to obstruct Trump. The recording was first played on a conservative radio show, and within hours it was being analyzed on every major news channel. Call-in radio shows were flooded with listeners, some exclaiming, "This is corruption at its worst," while others declared, "Leavitt was right all along." Conway, caught off guard by the audio, requested an urgent interview slot on a morning talk show to respond. "This is clearly manipulated," he said, his tone less confident than before. "Anyone can fake a recording these days. We need a forensic analysis to prove it's not real. Until then, this is just more noise from Leavitt's smear campaign." But his words seemed to lack conviction. Even some of his own allies began to question his stance, with one commentator saying on air, "Conway might be wrong on this one. That audio sounds legitimate." As the controversy escalated, independent investigators stepped in to examine the evidence. A team of legal experts and forensic analysts was assembled to review the documents, emails, recorded statements, and audio recording. Their findings were released 2 weeks later in a detailed report that dominated headlines. The documents were authentic, the investigators concluded. The emails and recorded statements matched Leavitt's claims, showing a clear pattern of bribe offers to judges. The audio recording was analyzed by voice experts, who confirmed with 90% certainty that it was the Democratic operative mentioned in the investigation. The report also analyzed past judicial orders, confirming that many rulings against Trump's policies lacked legal grounding and aligned with the timeline of the alleged bribes. The report was a resounding victory for Karoline Leavitt. Public opinion shifted dramatically. Polls conducted by major news outlets showed that a majority of Americans now believe the allegations against the Democrats, with many expressing outrage. "I always thought judges were impartial," one man said in a street interview aired on a national broadcast. "But if this is true, the Democrats have turned our courts into a political battlefield." News segments highlighted the growing support for Leavitt, with one anchor saying, "Karoline Leavitt stood up to a powerful political machine and won. She's a true patriot." Another added, "Conway needs to admit he was wrong." Leavitt had the receipts. Karoline Leavitt seized the moment. She held a press conference the day after the investigators' report was released, standing at the podium with a quiet confidence. "This was never about politics for me," she said, her voice steady. "It was about saving our judicial system. The Democrats have been using corrupt judges to block President Trump at every turn, from his first term to now, just to protect their own power. No one should be above the law, not a political party, not anyone. The American people deserve a fair judiciary, and I'm proud to have played a part in bringing the truth to light." The room erupted in applause, and the clip of her speech was replayed across news networks, cementing her status as a rising star in the Trump administration. George Conway, his credibility battered, finally addressed the situation in an interview on a legal affairs program. "I may have misjudged the situation," he said, his voice subdued. "If the evidence is as conclusive as it appears, then I was wrong to doubt Karoline Leavitt's claims. I'll be taking some time to reflect on this." The apology was reluctant, but it was enough to signal his defeat. His allies were divided. Some accepted his admission, while others accused him of abandoning his principles. On conservative media, pundits mocked Conway's reversal. "He went after Leavitt with everything he had and he still lost," one commentator said, chuckling. "Maybe he should stick to lawyering." Leavitt's victory was undeniable. She was invited to speak at a Trump rally the following week, where she was introduced as the woman who exposed the Democrats' corruption. The crowd roared with approval as she took the stage, her smile radiant. "President Trump has always fought for the American people," she said, her voice carrying over the cheers. "I'm honored to stand with him in this fight to save our judiciary and our country. Together we'll keep holding the powerful accountable. The audience chanted her name, and the moment was broadcast live with news outlets calling her a fearless leader in the future of the Republican Party. Conway, meanwhile, faded from the spotlight. His media appearances slowed to a trickle, and his planned legal action against Leavitt was quietly dropped. Some of his supporters tried to defend him, arguing that he had been right to question the allegations at first. But the narrative had shifted. Karoline Leavitt was the hero of the moment, and Conway was a footnote in her triumph. The fallout from the scandal continued to unfold. The Department of Justice announced a formal investigation into the judicial corruption, with several judges reportedly under scrutiny. News programs continued to cover the scandal, but the consensus was clear. Karoline Leavitt had taken a massive risk, and it had paid off. She had exposed a truth that many had refused to believe, and in doing so, she had solidified her place as a powerful voice in American politics. As the dust settled, Leavitt appeared on a major news network for an exclusive interview. "I knew this wouldn't be easy," she said, her blue eyes steady as she looked at the host. "But I believed in the truth, and I believed in the American people. They deserved to know how their judicial system was being manipulated. I'm not done fighting for justice. There's more work to be done." The host nodded, clearly impressed. "You've made a lot of enemies, but you've also gained a lot of supporters," the host said. Leavitt smiled faintly. "I'm here to do what's right, not to make friends. If that means standing up to corruption, so be it." The interview was a fitting capstone to Leavitt's victory. She had taken on a powerful political machine and come out on top. George Conway, once a formidable opponent, had been forced to concede defeat, and the American people, armed with the truth, were left to grapple with the consequences of what had been uncovered. Karoline Leavitt had proven herself a force to be reckoned with, and her star was only beginning to rise.